1980, most of you won't remember this, Tom Peters wrote a book, and it was the first major book that started saying customer, 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 based on empirical research about what made great companies over time. And by the mid-1980s, you were getting more and more literature on this, and by today, there's a ton. And what's interesting is even though a few of those airlines did come up in terms of their customer orientation, most have not. And if you go and look at most industries, we have made progress. There's no question since 1980. But as I travel around the world, it's amazing how many companies come to me and say, we need to change, and the CEO, just last week, one said to me, we've got to be more externally oriented on the customer. So for 26 years, we've had this blast of information about this, and we still have the problem, and that's what I want to talk about today, why things haven't changed as much as we would like. I want to hear one idea at a time. Believe it or not, you're going to raise your hand. I'll go out. You don't need microphones. I'll just broadcast everybody else what you're saying, one idea at a time, about whether they're going to make the big leap, because they need, trust me, lots of change, and win or lose, and specifically what you saw there. What are the hints that lead you to that conclusion? Now, this is awkward to get going with, but I've noticed a striking pattern as I've done things like this around the world, and that is, under these circumstances, great leaders raise their hands. The power of tradition is huge, and if you don't somehow get it ground into something like the culture, it is amazing how it can kind of slide back, and that's the last step in these stories. Urgency. Let's move. Let's take it. There's some new stuff. Let's see if we can process it. If it's no good, boom. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. That's how those guys were making a huge leap.